Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I am doing a pirate drawing. So what this story is based off of is this drawing I recently did. It's pirates defeating a Kracken, so I want to do another drawing of those same pirates celebrating their victory by going to a tavern and celebrating. So this is what I'm doing. It's a tavern with torches and it's based off of the 17th century, so that's what I got my inspiration from, and this is how I got my idea. So I just wanted to show you the entire process of start to finish of this drawing. So with this drawing that I'm working on, I came up with the idea when I had art block and I didn't really have any inspiration to draw, and then one day I was going onto Netflix and I found a movie of pirates fighting these ginormous monsters, and I actually gained the inspiration to do that, and this is where the drawing was inspired by, was by that movie. I didn't really have any idea. I had art block and I didn't really know what to draw, and if you don't know what art block is, it's basically when you get burnt out. It's when you just draw way too much and then you just can't draw anymore. Many people have different forms of art block, it's just one of the things you get, but after I got over my art block, I did this drawing. I created my own characters, created my own backstory, and kind of came up with a rough idea of what I wanted to do. So I did the first pirate drawing and I wanted to draw like a tavern where they celebrate their victory, so that's what I'm drawing right now. I'm doing like a tavern with all sorts of accessories like barrels, and I based off the 17th century, so you can see that they still use flintlock pistols, those really old pistols that you had to manually reload and put in the gunpowder, and I added some candles and an old chandelier that uses candles and not really the LED lights that we use nowadays. And I got tons of inspiration photos of some taverns. I went on the internet and found some really cool photos and did some drawings, but I've seen with some of the inspired like taverns, they use barrels as seats. That kind of doesn't really make sense, so I ended up using just regular chairs instead of barrels, and I made some wood floors and added in some detail and engravings to the floors to show that it's made out of wood. So with character proportions, you use shapes. You block out how the character's body will end up turning out. You draw this rough skeleton by using shapes, then you combine shapes together to create the rough silhouette and the rough idea of what the character's proportions is. And for some reason, the one guy sitting in the chair the guy that's sitting in the chair, I somehow messed up his proportions, and I ended up fixing it in the long run. Like while I was developing the character, I did fix it, but at first I kind of messed up his proportions a little bit and it didn't really appear well and didn't really fit well, but I ended up fixing it in the long run. Proportions can sometimes be quite an interesting thing to really work with. I haven't really studied anatomy yet. I still need to get on doing it. I'm trying to wait out as long as possible before I try studying it, because it can be sometimes very complicated and difficult to truly understand anatomy, because it's truly understanding how the skeleton works, how your skin overlays over your muscles, and how bones and muscles come together to create a person. It can be sometimes difficult to learn, but someday I will try to learn it, even though I'm trying to wait as long as possible before I try to learn it. To be honest, I'm kind of a sucker for detail. I love adding tons of detail in my piece. It can really express the atmosphere of your area, and if you add tons of detail and add action to your piece, it can really make your entire scene very expressive and can really add a story and can add tons of depth. And that's what I love doing with my pieces. I love kind of writing a story. Like, as you look at the piece, you can see a story just being written on the canvas. That's what I really love. And one of the things I love doing is making stories, but it's quite interesting trying to make a story when you can't read and write. Because I'm autistic, I can't really read and write or really write down a story for each of the piece I draw. So the best way I can really express a story is by kind of giving characters expressions and putting them in certain locations so you can come up with the story yourself, and instead of listening to the story, you can actually see the story. That's why I love doing art. I love creating stories, but because I can't write them, instead I can draw the story and really show each location and give characters expressions and give them poses to express what's going on in the scene. And I love doing that, giving a story to each scene. And that's why I drew this tavern, to show that after the warriors conquered a ginormous and dangerous beast, they came to relax and show their victory. And that's what I really like about this piece, and I kind of enjoy, you know, creating these types of pieces. And I don't really try, when I do a drawing, after I do a drawing I move on to the next piece. I love the process of doing a drawing, and don't get me wrong, most pieces I work on I do end up, you know, looking at them for a long period of time, appreciating them, but I do not really appreciate the drawings I do or my skill level, because I always see that there's room for improvement. And the thing I've learned, and the thing many artists say, is that never stop where you are, always strive for improvement. And I really agree with that. You should always strive for improvement. I really look up to my art heroes, and when they, you know, give their viewers advice, I really listen to their advice, because you should always listen to advice given by other artists. Sometimes it can be hard listening to constructive criticism, but in the long run it can be good. I quite like the ocean. It was really fitting for me to do a pirate drawing, and the reason why I like the ocean a lot, it's only one word: Subnautica. Subnautica is downright one of my most favorite games of all time. My favorite type of genre of video games are survival-based games, so Subnautica is one of my most favorite out there, and I can't wait for the next Subnautica game to come out, but they're still in development with it right now. So it's really fitting for me to do a pirate type of drawing, but pirates do not really explore the deep parts of the ocean. I'm more interested in the deep parts of the ocean, not really the surface, because the ocean is quite fascinating. There's so many undiscovered places in the ocean, and there may be a leviathan literally lurking at the bottom of the ocean, and we would never know. It's just one of those things. We do not know what is under the ocean. Only a small fragment of the ocean has truly been explored, and the type of technology we have for submarines aren't the best yet, because submarines, the thing you have to worry about is the deeper you go underwater, the water pressure will become way more stronger, and if you're not careful and do not build a proper submarine, your submarine will just get crushed under the crushing pressure of the ocean. And the technology we have isn't perfect, because there's tons of things you have to look out for into making a submarine, and basically exploring the ocean's expensive and costly, so people haven't really explored the ocean that much. And it's quite interesting how many people want to explore space, but we haven't truly explored our oceans yet, and we truly don't know that much about our world. But I guess in due time, people will discover more and more about the ocean that we have never knew about. Like, for example, the blobfish, we discovered it back in 2018, and when I mean by we, I don't mean about me, because I never explored the ocean whatsoever, but many people have discovered the blobfish, and it was discovered back in 2018, and it just shows that there's more in the ocean that we don't know about, and there's still so many discoveries being made every single day. The interesting thing that I've learned is that the people of Subnautica that created the game, when they were first in development, they actually hired a marine biologist to be the designers for each of the creatures in Subnautica. So the proportions of each of the creatures in Subnautica is actually quite realistic and is actually biologically accurate to some standard. But it's quite interesting, very cool that they used actual marine biologists to create each of the creatures. And I'd love to draw one of the leviathans, or like just draw one of the leviathans, because the design of each leviathan is really cool. And one of my favorite leviathans in Subnautica is a leviathan from Subnautica Below Zero, the one with all the teeth, that's about 600 meters below sea level in the game. That's one of my most favorite leviathans, because I really like the design and how terrifying each of the leviathans are, and every single person that plays the game has their own feeling and their own feeling with each game. Like, some people are terrified of the leviathan, some people find the game peaceful, some find it terrifying, and some just find it not that scary. So each person that plays the game has their own feeling with the game, and I find that really cool. The leviathans in Subnautica, for me, sometimes are pretty terrifying. In Subnautica Below Zero, the leviathans aren't that scary, but in the first Subnautica game, they are terrifying, because while I was playing the normal Subnautica game, while I was exploring the caves, this one leviathan was chasing me and my heart was beating extremely fast, and I was terrified of the leviathans. I could feel my heart beating really fast. So for each person, they have their own expression of how the game feels to them, and I find that really cool about the franchise and about the game, that everyone has their own emotion and their own feeling for the game. So while I was developing the first drawing, I ended up first developing the characters before I ended up continuing with each of the scenes. So each character I first developed before I drew it, and I really got attached to these characters. I'm not one to really create that many characters, but recently, ever since I watched this YouTube channel, Wing Canvas, it's like an art school, it's an entire YouTube channel where they teach you things. I ended up watching their videos and ended up learning quite a lot after these 4 months I've been away from YouTube, and I've quite improved my art style over time and really learned very useful things when it comes to my art, and I really got interested in more character development. That's why I've been drawing this. So the thing I find interesting is pirates are actually historically accurate. They did exist a quite long time ago, but the thing about pirates is I don't think they really did that long, because when you're out at sea for too long, back then they didn't really have any access to fridges or anywhere freezing food, so the food that they ended up having they didn't really have any fruit or any food with vitamins, and because of that many pirates would suffer vitamin deficiencies and would ended up getting rotted teeth and would get very sick and tired. But it was quite normal for pirates back then, but I didn't think they really lost that long, because vitamin deficiency isn't really such a good thing having, because if you have a vitamin deficiency you can get quite sick and develop many illnesses and sickness, and it can be really bad for your health. So I think that pirates weren't really a thing for that long, and especially being out at sea you can get motion sick, and yeah, many pirates were thieves that would steal from other ships, and I couldn't imagine actually being a pirate and actually surviving at sea for that long. Like, it must have been really difficult being a pirate and trying to survive for so long out at sea. So I'm nearly almost finished with the shading in, and the reason why instead of me using the color black I use about dark blue, because usually when you're in a colder environment, the shadows are usually cold colors like blues, purples, but when you're in a warm environment, it's more warmer colors, like for example, oranges and reds are warm colors. So when it comes to light colors, you use warm colors in winter, and when it's summer, you use cold colors for the light areas. So that's why I'm using cold colors for each of the areas. But with the shading in, when I use color purple or blue, it kind of really ties together the piece and really gives the color life and really makes color way more vibrant. And I really like adding more vibrant and bright colors to each of the pieces. So shading in really helps with the vibrancy and really makes the pieces really vibrant and colorful. So here's the end card. I just want to say thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.